just like Thursday, the boat in trouble. This time, Nomura was able to wriggle off the hook with 1:30 to go, and now they hold a favored position.
We're not going to have it. They call to each other tonight. Nice to see your corner, 7. Yeah, the only good picture. Okay, plenty of us, yeah?
Game here is to get up to full speed. KR makes his move first, and he'll be going faster when the gun goes off.
Go down below the line. 20. 17. 14. 13. 4, 3, 2, 1, done.
Another clean start and another good job by Dylan Bob.
Hi there. It's Friday, 9 o'clock. Try to say I've been struggling of late. You know, thinking a lot and remembering a lot. So, thinking about a young kid in Oklahoma. I did a short stream about them last night. So I thought I'd bring on a special guest to have a conversation with. Hi, 17. How are ya? I learned the truth at 17 that love was meant for beauty queens and high school girls with clear-skinned smiles who married young and then retired. Valentines I never knew. The Friday night charades of youth were spent on one more beautiful. At 17, I learned the truth. And those of us with ravaged faces, lacking in the social graces, desperately remained at home, inventing lovers on the phone, who called to say, "Come dance with me," and murmured vague obscenities. It isn't all it seems at 17. Brown-eyed girl in hand-me-downs, whose name I never could pronounce, said, "Pity please the ones who serve. They only get what they deserve." And the rich-relationed hometown queen marries into what she needs, with a guarantee of company and haven for the elderly. Remember those who win the game and lose the love they sought to gain, debentures of quality, dubious integrity. Their small-town eyes will gape at you in dull surprise when payment due exceeds accounts received at 17. To those of us who knew the pain of Valentines that never came, and those whose names were never called when choosing sides for basketball. It was long ago and far away. The world was younger than today, where dreams were all they gave for free to ugly duckling girls like me. We all play the game, and when we dare, we cheat ourselves at solitaire, inventing lovers on the phone, repenting other lives unknown. We call and say, come dance with me, and murmur vague obscenities at ugly girls like me. At 17, lyrics to a song called At 17 by Janice Ian. But I got a chance or found a way to make it past 17. So 17, don't give up. It's going to be okay. But I can't say that. To a young child. Who was beat up. In a state that made their day-to-day existence a matter for ridicule in law. Sure, I had a tough time. I think we all do. But precious few of us grow up. At least not since 1965. And the desegregation of the South, and in theory, desegregation of schools, which actually went on until the 70s in the North. Very few of us grew up with de jure carte blanche to go after kids, to go after ugly duckling girls like me. And from when I was that ugly duckling girl until now, well, until I would say roughly 2015, things were getting better. And they didn't get better on their own. They got better because we fought for them to get better. There were struggles. There was action. Long, slow, deliberate action. Bending the bow to string the arc of justice. So that the arrows of love might find their target. It wasn't easy. Women didn't get the right to establish their own credit in 1974 because people didn't care. They got it because we fought. Stonewall was a riot. And it pains me deeply that we're not seeing some level of concern, at least that strong. We let our accomplishments lie fallow for a nearly 50-year period as the right, which never liked him, methodically, systematically, relentlessly pushed back. And now, here we are. I've done a couple of streams in the past couple of days. Probably the biggest stream, the biggest video I've ever done in terms of views was the one I did on Sam Alito's little letter, basically saying, "Gee, I have to deny cert to this case where the Missouri Department of Corrections wanted to fire a lesbian lady, and for procedural matters, I have to concur in denying cert, but." Another case. I'll have another chance because old Sammy's here. Sammy's right here. And he's waiting for one. He's ready. Remember what he told you during Obergefell? Good Christians are going to be forced to walk around with married gay people. So bring another case. I'm here for it. I got my pal over here, Clarence. He's here for it too. Oh yeah, and we've got this other fellow. Yeah, got it. I might be able to talk some people into, sort of doing what we did to. Bodily autonomy under Roe. Yeah. Bring another one. We gonna sit here? After all the work that led to Roe, that led to Obergefell, that's made it possible for more people to actively participate in the fabric of American society. We gonna just sit here and watch it all disappear quietly? I don't think we can. I wrote a letter to the Oklahoma Department of Education. You should. There's a vigil tomorrow in Boston. Anybody who's down there on the Boston Common at the bandstand should go. Should be in the streets. We should be screaming bloody murder about this. And we should be voting. We should be encouraging people to vote. In Weimar, Germany, the National Socialist Party was a minority party. The Communists and the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats of the day, they didn't have charismatic leaders. They didn't have people who were really quite tickling the fancy of everybody in their own little party. So they just sort of let things slide. And President Paul Hindenburg called up Dolphy and said, "Hey, Dolph, come on down to the Chancellery because I think we need to have a word." So in February 1933, Dolphy got in as Chancellor. And on May 6th, 1933, they started burning the books. That's how quick this can happen. We don't have time. You don't have time to save your neighbors by sitting by. We don't have time. I don't have time. But I do have time to talk to anybody who'd like to come in and discuss any of this with 17-year-old Stephanie or 70-year-old Stephanie. I'm here for it. On this Friday night. I know Stacy and Stacy's mom are going live in, I think, at 10:30 Eastern, I think it is, to celebrate a milestone in readership. So just wanted to mention that. And also, sure as heck want to say hi to everybody in the side chat. I haven't even looked at I'm just a terrible host. Yeah. See. All right. I'm gonna pop this side chat out. Pop out chat. Do the things. Do all the things. All right. So if I do the invite thing, copy, and then I do the paste thing, paste. And then I do the thing. And then I do the pin message thing. Then the invitation is served. Anybody who would like to come in and chat is welcome to do so. If it doesn't show up, if nobody shows up, then that's cool too. I'll just sit and drink my tea, ramble on a wee bit. Talk about Kaylin Amara, the famous, the lovely, wonderful Kaylin Amara, 35-foot sloop that a friend of mine, artist friend of mine, built himself. Designed it, built it. It was a pretty good boat, not bad. Had a terrible rating, but it's all right. We won some races. See, it's like 1986 here. Division B, Gulf of Maine Ocean Racing Association, also known as Gomorrah. Yeah, Gomorrah, like in Sodom and Gomorrah. I wanted to establish a sibling organization called the Society of Dedicated Offshore Mariners, which would be Sodom, but nobody would go for it. All right, kid, you gonna be okay? All right, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be just fine. I see we haven't gotten over our affinity for striped shirts. But I wish I still had that curly brown hair. I can do with the silver. I can do with the silver. Yeah. What fresh hell is this? Let's see. I should have given her a more dignified, slow fade type exit, I think. Springtime's coming. Springtime's coming. Hopefully that means business will be picking up. I mean, my goodness, this has been a terrible, terrible winter for me. I've been tapping you all for a little help to get through, and I can still use the help. I don't know. I might have to give it all up. I mean, I probably have a sailing gig in theory, but then again, radio silence on that front too. Sucks getting old. Oh, one thing I haven't remarked on very much is the decision of the Alabama Supreme Court to declare that I think it's two couples that filed a wrongful death suit because somebody had knocked over some eggs or something and lost some embryos. And in their language basically implied that embryos, and I'm not really clear whether it's embryos per se or blastocysts. I think it's embryos. I think that they're IVF embryos. In other words, the sperm and egg, the sperm and the ovum were united and there was some cell division. My understanding is that that's the way it works. They let it go for a couple of days, to a certain level of cell division, and then they put them in the deep freeze. But that a blastocyst is a child, or has the same rights as a child, or has the same legal standing. They might have phrased it. But let's say in the case of death, or if you're going to treat the destruction of a blastocyst as an act of wrongful death, the media and the court case, etc., and so forth, focused on IVF. Right? But does that principle apply more broadly? Again, here's another thing where we can't be sitting by here. It seems like a lot right now is all coming together in one place at once. In the political turmoil that's facing the country at the moment. We have a guy who's asserting that a president can, do anything he effing well pleases, as long as it's part of his official acts. We have a court saying that blastocysts are children. Let me get back on topic here. If a blastocyst has the rights of a child, then if an ova is fertilized within a uterus, but the uterus is conditioned by, let's say, progesterone, or the uterine lining is mitigated by the presence of an intrauterine device, and the blastocyst cannot implant, is the woman's action, the uterus owner's action in making their uterus inhospitable to the blastocyst, are her actions in doing so tantamount to starving a child? Because it seems to me that that's where the logic inevitably leads. In which case, when I first read of this decision, I haven't read that decision out, to see what they actually said. But if that's the case, I'm pretty sure that this isn't just aimed at IVF. I am pretty sure that this is aimed at contraception generally. It's aimed at the overturning Griswold v. Connecticut and the subsequent decision that made birth control available to unmarried women. People forget that hormonal birth control was made available only to married women by Griswold versus Connecticut in 1965 nationwide. It took another Supreme Court decision in 72, I believe, 72 or 3. And the name of the case escapes me, to make it available to all uterus owners. So I'm thinking that this Alabama Supreme Court, by the logic of that decision, hormonal birth control or other forms of birth control that make the uterus inhospitable to the implantation of a blastocyst. After all, a blastocyst deserves life, apparently. I think birth control's at risk. I think it is definitely in the conversation. And I'm pretty damn sure that Soapy Sam Alito is all up for that too. As I wrote in some place, congratulations, Alabama, you've just made menstruation a capital offense. I mean, there are lots of times in a uterus haver's life where, even without any form of intervention, outside intervention, be it hormonal or physical, there are plenty of times when an egg will be fertilized but fail to implant and is flushed out quite naturally in menses. I mean, usually unnoticed. But I'm pretty sure that that's the end game. I'm pretty sure that it's welcome to Gilead, folks, is what it is. My Soapy Sam stream, by the way, is attracting, it's like 500 and some odd views so far, and it's attracting a whole bunch of right-wingers who are thumbs downing it, by the way, in case you want to just go over, flip it up, like it. That would be helpful. You know. Say something, people. Do something. Get out there, please. It's super, super cool to listen to flat earth debates. I mean, if that's your jam, that's your jam. I don't have the time. I don't. Other creators have the time. I don't. I just don't. I think that at some point the rubber has to meet the road. in terms of addressing these issues and keeping our eyes on what's going on in the world. And we all need a break. I mean, yeah, I love listening me to some Bart Ehrman or some philosophical stuff. I listen to you know, and we got to have something to do while we're working or making the dinner and whatnot or another. But I think that these things are very, very, very important, if not critical at this point, because we are headed straight towards a very bad place. And I appreciate the reluctance that some people have and the discomfort that I share with the nominee of the Democratic, the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party for president this year. But if you're not scared of the 500-page Project 2025 manifesto that's out there, if you're not scared of this, hold on just a second. Yeah, I mean, just give me a moment. Give me a moment. Won't take but two shakes lamb's tail here, dear. Let me just find this here thing. Might take me just a second. I got it bookmarked over here, right here in my bookmarks. Gotta get all gussied up here so it's presentable and you can't see my superfluous shit. Let's see. Oh, I got a million of them anyway. I was just saying other things that I got in my bookmarks. Holy shit. Pardon me. Oh yeah, I gotta do this other thing. That's so awkward and inconvenient to do this stuff. Oh yeah, I got the right wingers are going at me now. It's awesome. Fucking great. Titan, Ember. Good to see you. Hang on, let me find this goddamn thing. Present, yeah, okay. Present, share screen. That one. Yeah, this one. Share this. See now. We gotta do this here. Gotta unmute it. Listen to this asshole. Yesterday at CPAC.
All right, welcome. I just wanted to say, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
All right. Say, welcome to the end.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait, okay. Let's go over here. What the hell? We won't take too long.
With this right here, we'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
Amen.
All right,
Amen.
welcome. I just wanted to
All
say,
right, welcome. Yeah, you want to get into it. You want to get into a really good conversation. Go over and check out that Alito video because holy shit, it's getting nuts. The link is, anybody who wants to come on in here, the link is pinned. Yeah, but isn't that something? You know, when they tell you who they are, believe them, please. Please fucking believe them. Because they're not joking. You know, I have seen this before in my life. And again, I can't stress enough how hard it was to fight against it. I was a little too young for Joe McCarthy, but not for Robert Welsh. Not for the John Birch Society. I don't know how many of you have watched Dr. Strangelove. But the general who was talking about the communists destroying his precious bodily fluids, does it remind you of anything? General Jack T. Ripper, that was supposed to be satire, but those guys were around at the time. Fluoride in the water was the big deal, and the commies were putting fluoride in the water, and it was going to destroy our precious bodily fluids. That was literally in the news. And it's in the news again. We weren't so stupid, though, then, as to resist inoculation against deadly diseases. We didn't have vaccines against measles. So we got the measles frequently. There were measles outbreaks all the time. But we did have one thing we could do if there was a measles outbreak. You know what it was called? Quarantine. You know what it was called? Don't send the kids to school. You know what they're doing today in Florida with a measles outbreak? Nothing. First of all, there should be no measles outbreaks because everybody should be vaccinated against the measles. That MMR, mumps, measles, there are vaccines. There's an effective vaccine. People won't take them because why? Because commies and precious bodily fluids and conspiracies, and the CDC is trying to control your brain, and it'll turn your kids gay or trans or communist. And good God, you certainly wouldn't want the kids to go to the library and learn about the germ theory of disease, because that's not God's will. The Supreme Court Justice in Alabama, you know, that Supreme Court Justice in Alabama, he's a Seven Mountains guy. He's a Seven Mountains guy. He's all about taking over the all of the functions in civil society, a takeover of all of those functions by the more literal interpreters of the Bible in order to hasten the second coming. Sweet, huh? I was having a conversation earlier about the angels on the head of a pin, the nature of language. We shouldn't call them evangelicals because some of them don't appreciate the evangelical label. But you know what evangel means? Evangel is Greek. It means it comes from the Greek evangel, and the angel part is the same part. Has the same derivation as angel, messenger, right? So it's evangelium. Good news. You know what gospel means? Good news. Only it's not in Greek, it's in German or in Germanic tongue. So it don't effing matter what flavor of Christian you are. You're evangelical or a gospel. If you don't believe in the Gospels, then I'm not sure you can call yourself a Christian. You know, there's that whole died, raised from the dead, ascended into heaven, sitteth at the hand of God the Father Almighty, from whence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead, and all of that stuff. That's the good news, right? That's good news? That the world's going to end? And that the world sucks? The world sucks so bad that it needs to be destroyed and wait for, and everybody needs to be gathered up into a life everlasting beyond this life, which sucks out loud, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is what's disturbing me, because that message seems to be working right now. Because we all seem to be stuck in this place where we don't think there's anything we can do about it, and I get stuck there too. And I'll be honest, I am not hopeful, but I'm not going to stop fighting. Because I'm not going to stop fighting because I believe much like Merry and Pippin and Frodo and Sam, that the Shire folk didn't like being ruled by Saruman, that they were sick of it, that they'd had it up to here and all they needed was a little spark to scour the Shire and get rid of Wormtongue and Saruman and kick them out. I believe that. And I'm seeing it a little bit. I'm seeing it a little bit in that. You want to talk about joy, P-Town? I'll tell you there's something that gave me joy. It gave me profound joy to find that Moms for Liberty in Pennsylvania could only find 3 people to get together to dissolve that chapter. Because some shit too crazy for even the Kareniest of the Karens out there. That gave me a good deal of joy. That happened like 4 or 5 days ago. So that's good. But the good news, the evangelical news, the evangel, the whole notion that we're all just poor wayfaring strangers traveling through this world of woe. There's no sickness, toil, or danger in that great world to which we go. That's a bunch of horse shit. It lets us off the hook for being responsible for the world we inhabit and the world we leave behind. And I'm not really entirely certain that every single jot and tittle of Scripture commands us to take that view. Because there was an awful lot of in the meanwhile in the Beatitudes, right? You know, and in the teaching, like, feed the hungry. Well, why should you feed the hungry if, you know, they're going to die anyway and they'll go to heaven? It's like, well, because you should care, because you're called upon to have empathy. So when I see these people at CPAC, and I'm sure they're good Christian men and women, saying that they want to get rid of democracy, and fuck, if it didn't work on the 6th of January 2020, we're gonna make it work now. Is there empathy there? Is there a desire to make things better? How's it better when one religious tradition gets to essentially annihilate another, or one view of one people's view of a life well lived entitles them to circumscribe the life of people that are not like them in every particular. Whose aim is to draw the circle in close rather than to broadening it to the whole of humanity. Whose view of siblinghood is simply people who look like them, behave like them, love like them, trust like them. There was a commenter on this Alito stream that I'm talking about. Let me find that. Yeah, Marvin Schottenheimer wrote Schulten 86, some, name with a bunch of numbers after it. You're looking at this from the wrong perspective. You need to read or reread Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is on a fucking stream where I simply read Samuel Alito's objections. Well, sort of, I just want to put this down, even though I'm going to agree with the rest of the justices to deny cert in a case which was brought by the Missouri Department of Corrections against a lesbian employee. She sued him for for creating a hostile work environment and wrongful dismissal. She won the case. They appealed on account of the fact that two of the jurors basically got up and told the judge in the trial, I believe that homosexuality is a sin, is sinful, and that it's bad, and that people who practice it are evil. Now the lawyer said, quite naturally said, well, I don't think that would be an impartial jury in this case. It's like, That was the matter. It was appealed to the Supreme Court. Sam Alito said, well, as a procedural matter, because of Missouri state law and the conflict with federal law, I'm going to have to concur with not granting cert in this case. But I warned you all in my dissent in Obergefell, that this is what was going to happen, that Christians were going to be denied their rights to serve on a jury, and that those two people ought to have been seated to sit in judgment on an employment discrimination case. And this is why this stuff is blowing up anyway. This guy's somehow or another, I need to reread Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I don't recall the story of the lesbian in Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, or for that matter, anywhere in the New Testament. I don't know. P-Town, you can cite chapter and verse to me, right? You can find me the lesbian. I can find a eunuch in the New Testament, but I can't find a lesbian. So apparently Marvin over here says I need to reread the thing. I responded. I said, or perhaps you might read the First Amendment. You are free to practice your faith, but not to dictate mine or regulate its practice through any court or Congress. Or a YouTube comment, for that matter. Yes, P-Town. You've ever heard the word? You know what a lesbian is? You have any idea? Do I need to spice it up a little bit for you? All right, and then I got some other ding dong in here. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun. I got, Yeah, it's pragmatic. Maybe you can find a good link for Pete Town to study Sappho. There's some good poetry, by the way. I can highly recommend the poetry of Sappho. P-Town. Don't worry. It's in Greek. So it fits right in with the New Testament. Oh, and she lived on the Isle of Lesbos. And that's in the Aegean Sea, not too far from Palestine. Remember where Palestine is, right? Yeah. I'm sorry, Canaan or Canaan. Or Judah, yeah. Or Judea, yeah. It's been called a lot of things. It has. Look at me, I'm just sitting here riffing. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yes. Amber? Only on Rocky and Bullwinkle was an ancient Greek living in the 20th century. Only there. There's a link in but the link is pinned at the top of the damn chat. Anybody want to come in and have a little shoot the breeze? I've got more tea. I can spill some, I guess. Sabrina! Oh my goodness. Hi, hon.
Hello, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Great. Do you folks know Sabrina? Sabrina's one of them Canadiansky type people.
I know a few people know me. As soon as I popped in chat, I got a few people acknowledging me there.
This is now officially an international show. And it's Amber. Come on up. Hello.
Hello.
Amber. Hello.
I'm trying to avoid tea at the moment, but I do have my water, so we're good.
Are you trying to avoid tea? Is there some sort of a...
Oh, double entendre there? Yeah, I like it. I appreciate that joke.
I'm sorry, I'm old. I'm over it, too.
It's all good.
Way
It's all good.
over it. Yeah.
I haven't had a
Well,
chance to make myself pretty today, but you know, we'll work with
That's
it.
all right.
Now, I was
Make yourself pretty. You're naturally that.
oh well, thank you. You know, we do what we can, you know. But yeah, the 20th century thing. It's all this LGBT stuff. This is all so new. It only started a couple of decades ago. So, you know, Sappho and Alexander the Great, they're all in the 20th century apparently. Or so we're told.
No, they weren't actually. No.
By the way, YouTube punk.
You know.
I'm not a teenager. I will neither confirm nor deny the other accusation. Just the comment on my name, of course.
Yeah, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch.
Not a teenager. Will not confirm nor deny the other claim.
Only virtually. Yeah, only virtually. Not today, Satan.
No Satans. No Satans. Where did I put my horns? I haven't used those since, shoot, I think it was when we were still in Exodus in Blasphemers Bible.
I've got my boat horn available, but that would blow everybody's ears off. It almost deafened Bree last time she was in here.
Oh my! I was thinking my little blue devil horns.
Okay, Titan.
Able to catch
Titan.
What's Titan doing now?
Titan is encouraging P-Town to hop on stage. Hey, the link's there. You know, I'll have to give it some hard consideration. First, P-Town, what do you want to talk about?
That's an important question, I suppose.
You gotta tell me what you want to talk about before you do you want to convert me?
Yeah.
Do you want to divert me? Do you want to
subvert?
Subvert me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't ask you if you want to invert me because you know.
I mean, honestly, if you want to come in and
been there, done that, dude. You know, I'm not gonna.
I make no assumptions about the character of this person, but I mean, if you wanted to come in and just relax and chill and whatever, that seems like
pervert. Call me pervert.
Oh well, now P-Town has to come in just to so we can introduce you to.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, it's too bad. It's too.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I was watching a little bit of the chat back and forth, but I haven't really encountered this individual very much. So, Mommy, how are you doing, by the way? Hello. Sorry, just watching side chat at the same time, kind of thing. So, acknowledging people who acknowledge me.
Indeed.
Hell yeah.
It's getting fun. I never thought who would have thunk it, right? You know, here I am doing this. I'm gonna have to bring in my special guest again because she'll get a kick out of this. She really will get a kick out of this. Mm-hmm. Hi, Steph. How are you? pretty silent, but that's all right. You spoke up later on.
Wait. Is that a picture of you from before? Is that what I'm understanding from? I don't have context here.
That is Stephanie at 17.
Wow.
You don't time
Looked
travel,
femme even
Sabrina?
back then. Sorry, like I look at that picture, I'm like, oh, that's a cute looking woman. I'm not even trying to flirt. It's just like that was just my first thought when I saw the picture. I'm like, I'm not sure if this is you from back then, but regardless.
Yeah, that'd be me. That is me.
Hey, Nitty.
Yo.
Nitty.
Nitty.
It's Nitty.
Hey. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I was catching some of it earlier. Man, these frickin' theocrats. Just meh.
Mm-hmm.
I find
it be that way.
I find their fullness of faith disturbing.
I mean,
the overconfidenceness.
At least they're consistent.
Yeah, well, they've been
consistent. They're not even that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what we're talking about.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's consistency among. If we're talking about politics, I have found some people among the what's the word I'm looking for, the voting base, so to speak, that are consistent. I know people who are consistent, but as far as like the actual leaders, not at all.
Of course not.
And even among the voters, there's lots of people who aren't consistent. But I'm saying, like, the people I've found who are consistent are not usually the leaders.
Right.
I would say that they meet they would meet a standard that is actually spelled out in the DSM-5. They are insistent, consistent, and persistent. So I think we should let them transition.
That was good. That was good.
You know. I'm sorry, I just killed the conversation.
No.
No.
Somebody else take it away. Like, I just, they are, in fact, they are insistent, consistent, and persistent, and have been so, and that's why they've gotten to the point that they have. Yeah. They've gotten to this point. They have never given up. When Goldwater lost in a landslide, the Birchers got their shit together. Lee Atwater said it best. You can't go around saying anymore. So now you talk about people you go around talking about welfare queens and Cadillacs and this and that and the other thing. It's literally a long game these folks have been playing.
Yeah.
And it's lasted a very, very long time, and it's coming to fruition. And unfortunately, it is now at the point that we are in danger of losing everything that the previous 40 years, nearly 35 years anyway, but 40 years tried to achieve and did achieve. We are in danger of losing that because we thought, you've grasped the ring and now you've got it. And nobody thought they could take it away. And the thing is that the working for a broader view of who is a sibling, who is not, who is part of the human community, and who is not. We being a tribal, a species that thrives on in groups and out groups. It's just sort of part of our mental makeup. Since it's part of our mental makeup, we need to be very, very careful about saying no. We do believe in an inclusive world, in a world where siblinghood is real. And that we are, in fact, if you want to get biblical about it, we are, in fact, our siblings' keeper. You know, we do have a responsibility to look after the care of people who are not of our tribe. We're not commanded to enslave people from outside our tribe anymore.
And we should
or even enslave one another. We're better than that, as Ember likes to say. We're better than religion. We're better than this. We're so much better than this. We've had centuries to get beyond a Bronze Age interpretation, Bronze and early Iron Age interpretation of how to live a useful and just life. And we should be mature enough to realize that no matter what is beyond, if there is anything beyond, I personally don't think there is, no matter what is beyond, it matters how we care for one another and how we care for this planet.
Mm-hmm. What we leave behind.
My little soapbox.
No.
Good soapbox.
No, it's all good.
That box was very soapy. I'm sorry.
Tasty soapbox.
I washed my face. I hope you noticed. I washed my face. I did a little thing here, you know, and there's an... I'll get real close. No makeup. A little bit of lipstick. Just, see? Old hippie chick.
I wonder if all of our, super duper believer friends would want to become the people I talked about last night. Or the night before last or whatever.
Oh,
those Eastern Orthodox crazy people. With the dangly pubic hair beard.
Oh no.
Yeah, there's this.
Yeah.
I found this guy doing a live stream answering people's questions, answering Orthodox Christian questions, mind you. And they were going through the hard sayings of Jesus, which were really gross interpretations of passages about the sex in the Christian scriptures, right? And attributing them to Jesus. Now, I just found so many gems in that live stream. It was unbelievable. First of all, there are apparently spiritual tiers of Christianity. I had no idea it was literally a multi-level marketing ploy. Just
Christianity was the original multi-level marketing.
Hey,
yeah, I have to find a spiritual daddy. That the reason I became an atheist is that I didn't have a spiritual daddy who was a few tiers above me to tell me what to do, and especially according to this live stream, what to do and not to do with my penis because of what women are and how they ought to carry children. So apparently married men, according to this interpretation of Paul's work, need to undergo 120 days of chastity in their marriage, a year. Because there's no
consecutive
sex.
Or
no, yeah, every year. There's no sex on Wednesdays. There's no sex on Fridays. There's no sex on spiritual holidays, and there's definitely no sex on Sundays. And that doesn't include
that means that these men sort of go through their sock drawer on those 120 days.
Their
right?
robe drawer.
the way that works?
You know, the vestments drawer. Because I'm not sure they wear socks. It's like vestments and sandalish things.
Wait a second. You said none on Sundays. So when I saw that
That's
one,
right. Only nuns.
I mean, I saw a picture of this. I didn't see it in real life, but I saw a picture of a church sign going like, lying in bed Sunday morning, saying, "Oh God," does not constitute going to church, or something like that.
That's great. But do you guys want to know the consequences of having the coitus on those days?
So Wednesday,
Hell,
Friday,
probably.
Sunday, and spiritual holidays?
Yeah.
Okay. What's
the consequences?
The
pissed
the
off wife? I don't know. What is
the conception of the baby will either be stillborn or the wife will die in childbirth.
Well, that's rude.
And mind you, this is a person in 2024 reading this interpretation and telling their viewers that this is a teaching of the church that they ought to obey.
Okay, that's very... Oh, there's so much I want to dig into that. It's like...
Oh, and
why would you make such a specific and easily disprovable claim?
Well, also, coitus during pregnancy will result in abortion 100% of the time. Like there's a balloon in there that the penis is big enough to pop.
That's crazy.
You know,
I've heard the opposite.
That channel is a gem.
I've heard, though I don't know what this was. I've heard that done safely, of course, because there's ways to do it unsafely. But done safely, coitus during pregnancy can actually be beneficial.
Yeah, I know.
One more thing that I do know. I kind of forgot to get this out in the discussion of the Alabama thing. It's like, why is it always if we want to get zygotic about this, why is it always the large zygote rather than the small one that is the target of these judicial things? I mean, it's like, could it possibly be?
I have a hypothesis for that, but I think it's just a matter of, well, mind you, if it was a matter of tenability, even that wouldn't be tenable. But what they want, I would understand that they want is moment of conception. I think that's what they want, but I don't think they.
Oh yeah,
I think they have a very hard time writing a law that works from that point. I say that works as in
but you've got to. Kind of but you've got to have the ovum, and then you've got to have the spermatozoa, and then you've got to put them together. So before the ovum itself is not it's kind of weird. I kind of think that they'd go for the ovum being as long as the two they're thinking about conception as a form of two-part epoxy here, it seems like.
Right.
Like,
but also
it doesn't really get hard until you mix the two together, you know.
Well, don't ovum like they can not that they're conscious in themselves, but they can reject sperm too. They kind of like no, I don't want to say choose, but there is some kind of method by which only particular sperm get into the ovum.
There's also the matter of, and when it comes to fertility treatment, there's also the matter of it always seems to be discussed in terms of it being the female partner's fault.
For sure.
When in fact, sometimes the little swimmers don't make it to the deep end, and that's got nothing to do with that's got nothing to do with the size of the pool. Let's put it that way.
Well, they're essentially resurrecting takes from Genesis, right? Oh, Sarai was barren. Oh, Rachel, she was barren, but the Lord opened her womb. Yes, because God gets to choose when and if you get pregnant. Or
they had no idea.
She was barren, but who knows why?
But those people had absolutely zero idea about the mechanics of the whole thing, aside from the gross mechanics of the whole thing, which were kind of like, hey, let's make them whoopee.
Right, but to them,
that kind of thing.
Honestly, the more I think about it now, importing it into modern day and how this is working, it might not be an outright, oh, that's just not how, denial of the science of it. It's more that they're carrying those biblical values onto how they act in the world, irrespective of the science, right? They're taught to value women as the cargo ship for the life juice.
But only they're
right. That's literally just it. There's not much more to it than that. I also talked about the other night the double standard, double speak of Christian pregnancy, where on the one hand you're continually sold, please have baby, God want you baby, make baby, have baby, we love baby, God love baby, be fruitful, multiply, have baby. And then it's heartbreaking. The couples that I was in my church with, they were just completely infertile for the longest time. And then what does everyone in the church group say? God no give you baby. God no want baby for you. But you just told me for months that God wants baby for me. Pick a lane. You're gonna build up my expectations of this beautiful thing God wants for me. And then you're going to immediately say, well, God wants you to suffer without it now. He didn't really want you to have a baby. It's yes, just gaslight
for this problem.
My uterus.
Maybe there isn't a God.
Right. Well,
how dare I?
But it was heartbreaking the whole time. It just pissed me off. And now that I think about it, I'm like, how disgusting was I to think that and, present that as possible valid counseling to someone? I mean, not only that,
it does seem to me like that it does seem to me that the whole baby making thing is a cultural hangover from religious traditions, and also a cultural hangover thing from the fact that up until the modern era, life, if you made it past the age of 10, you had a good chance of living a fairly long life.
Yeah.
But there was so much infant mortality, deaths of childbearers in the process of childbirth, that we just had a different approach to the whole idea of reproduction, and and that's why I often say that I think it's not that these people want to go back to the 1950s. They want to go back to the 1350s.
No shit. Yeah.
And before all of this stuff, they're stuck in that mindset, in a medieval and earlier mindset, that really up until the advent of
modern medicine, really
modern medicine and understanding the germ theory of disease and all of that other stuff, it just stuck there.
I was actually shamed basically in my church into having natural kids because we wanted to adopt, really wanted to adopt. And
you mentioned that on your stream.
Yeah, this is for the audience who didn't hear it. But this kind of thinking leads to this kind of behavior, in churches, where it's like there's 8 fucking billion people on this planet. How many of them are kids without love, without the potential for like a moderate income family to bless their lives? And here we go. We want that for some kid, but no, you're really designed to have natural born children. You can't go around what God really wants you to do. And besides, like, what did they say? That was really fucked up now I think about it. Oh, by doing it this way, by adopting, it shows your lack of faith that God will provide you natural children and that you can have natural children. You don't really trust God if you don't want to have natural children. Yeah. Pray about it. Think about it. Which means we're going to keep asking you about this until you change your mind. So yeah. Now, I don't regret it. Like, I love my kids. They're so much fun. And they're hilarious. It's my son's birthday this weekend. So little nitty clone.
Itty bitty nitty.
Cool.
Yeah. I have a cat.
So there you go. That's Christianity for you. Who likes that? Who wants to be a part of that?
Well, in my own, in my own family, there were 3 miscarriages between my sister's birth and mine. So, and this was that would be between 1939 and 1953. So, yeah.
Steph, I'll let you put up my clone.
Even in the modern day, it's nothing's guaranteed. So they wanted me. They didn't expect me. Well, at least they didn't expect what they got out of me. Let's put it that way. It's like big fucking surprise. Like, hey, what's this kid? What did she say?
Steph, I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, sorry. I gotta see. I got crazy shit going on here because I can't see that stuff. Oh, see, and P-Town's backstage.
So I'm on the right.
Oh my! Oh wow! Holy shit!
He's my little clone.
No kidding.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
He's got the straight hair going. That's one thing I noticed.
Oh yeah, he was refusing a haircut. So
okay. Yes, one does.
Was that. But yeah, I dug up that photo from my photo albums and I took a picture of it on my iPhone. And I'm like, I've got to see what people are saying. That this kid keeps looking more like me as it gets older. And sure enough, there you go.
Holy shit, that's amazing. That really is quite something.
Yep. He's
that's really neat.
What did he say? He was doing like a Mad Libs thing today at preschool. And he, like, to fill it out, obviously can't, write or, read. But he can, like, cite out pictures and tell you what they are and all that shit. So there's like little blank spaces, right? And there's 4 boxes at the bottom of what you want to circle to put in the story. So the first thing, it's like there was a princess that lived in a castle. And one day they had a pig and they waved their magic lollipop at it and it turned into a hamburger. It was great.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. I think I remember that one too.
You want to know something really weird? Speaking of poetry. So
sure.
The other day, I found a memorabilia box that my mom of stuff that she kept of mine. What? Hold on.
My cat is being standoffish.
So,
There's no accounting.
all right, I found it. So, I'm going through the memorabilia book. There's all my school projects, you know, from kindergarten, like the cute shit you glue together, the house, the drawing your family, your book, like little certificates of your book reports, your report cards, shit. And I like authored this poem book with another kid. And the first thing I put in it, and I don't know, I don't think I ever read the rest of this poem, but it was freaky as fuck. Are you ready what the first page was?
I'm ready.
Yesterday upon the stair, I met a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I'd wish he'd go away. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this at the start?
Ban that book. Ban that book. That book should be banned.
That
okay.
I mean,
ban
him.
him.
Read the rest of it. It's that poem's a trip, but it's dark as hell, especially for a third grader.
Yeah, well, ban it.
Yeah.
Wow, it looks like Bree is going live or doing a premiere in 30 minutes. So there's that. The American Kangaroo. Oh my.
I think maybe it'll block a link. Am I a mod?
Interesting.
No, I don't think it matter.
I don't know. I think you are. Yeah, you are.
Okay, maybe it posted, maybe it didn't. I don't really care.
It did. It posted.
Thank you, StreamYard. You're so precious.
What grade were you in?
3rd grade.
It's interesting because it sounded familiar. Parts of it stuck out in my head, so I looked it up, and there's a poem called Antigonish.
Yep, I met a man who wasn't there.
Yeah, and you were familiar with that poem in 3rd grade,
or at least like that quip, like got stuck in my head somehow.
Yeah,
at least it wasn't Antigone, which is it's just a rather an interesting.
When I came home at 3, the man was waiting there for me, but when I looked around the hall, I couldn't see him there at all. Go away, don't you come back anymore. Go away, and please don't slam the door.
I have to excuse myself for just a moment. Let's see, who can be in charge? Ember's in charge.
Oh, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't have any buttons.
You're supposed to talk.
Oh, you want me to talk? P-Town, how you doing? It's been a minute.
Did you take my advice, P-Town, and take 3 months off the internet?
Am I in the panel? I didn't know I was on stage. Did I take 3 months off of the internet because of my
YouTube
baby?
To make your marriage better? Did you do it? Because you told me to take a month off porn to make my marriage better, and I kicked you off of YouTube for 3 months for saying that.
No, what I said was try not whacking off to porn and then see how your wife feels.
Oh, sure.
You. Yeah, that's see how she interacts with you in the.
By all lights, it seemed to me that you actually
it was misinterpreted, and I was holding a baby and typing with one hand, so it's probably my fault. But
wait, you're the one typing with one hand?
One hand had the baby, the other hand I was typing, and it was a pun off of the chat, and then it got misinterpreted, and I couldn't resolve it. Yeah.
How is your baby, by the way? How's your little reproductive project going?
My reproductive projects work, and I'm on number 2, and she is, well, I guess 10 weeks now, 11 weeks. She's starting to giggle and smile and talk. She's really sweet. Yeah, a real blessing.
Babies are amazing.
Yeah, my coworker, she's got number 2 coming along right now, and getting ready for on the working side, because she does a lot of stuff in the store that she's we're trying to get ready so that it's like, okay, once you have to go on your mat leave, make sure everything doesn't burn down. But no, her kid number 1 is, I think, 2.5 right now. God, time flew. Can't believe it's already been that long since. Like it feels like just yesterday she was pregnant with her, and now she's already almost 3 years old. Fucking hell! Excuse my language.
Yeah, we swear all the time here. It's a silly place.
I know, but it's just in the context. I'm talking about children. I feel like I shouldn't swear, at the very least, in the context of talking about children, even if I swear normally under other circumstances. It's weird that I feel that way. Now I think about it. It's like I feel more or less comfortable cursing, depending upon the conversational context, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe that's normal. I don't know.
I do my best not to curse in front of my children, that's for sure. I say things like, what in the monkey nuts? What in the flip toast? What's the nuts? I get away with that one somehow. I don't know.
I remember when growing up, my dad's favorite, or the ones I heard from him a lot as far as like the substitutes, are sugar as opposed to shit and fudge. And I'm like, his substitutes are quite sweet, eh?
Right. Yeah.
I like sugar because it was kind of funny. Like I would hear it, and there, as I grew older and actually became more familiar with curse words, there'd be moments where like I want to say something, and it feels like saying sugar actually makes more sense than. I mean, I don't feel that way anymore because he doesn't use that anymore. But like, there was a time period, kind of like the preteen, early teen years, where sometimes I'd want to use that instead. It just felt like a better fit because I guess is what I was used to.
Yeah, as I said in the chat, my daughter goes to a school with a lot more diversity than the Christian one my wife wanted to send her to. So I'm pretty sure she's going to get quite the vocabulary very soon.
It's the opposite over here, Nitty. The diversity's in the Christian school. It's kind of.
Where are you again?
But I'm also in a heavy tech, Boeing area. So, whereas all the poor kids are, white.
So, where are you at?
North Seattle.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Interesting thing. The church that I grew up in. And,
by the way, I'm not saying all the kids there are poor or something, but go on.
Yeah, I would say the church that I grew up in also had a private school associated with it. The church that I went to was unusually multicultural, and the school was quite multicultural. Even, I mean, nowadays in the cities that I grew up in, that's not novel at all because it's the Greater Toronto area. But like at the time, it was a distinct, notably multicultural space, at least for the area at the time when I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s.
When I first moved to America, I was the white boy. It was so weird. White boy, people wearing saggy jeans, falling off their butt cheeks, and I had no idea because I grew up in England, and I had no idea what I came into. It's like speaking a different language.
Were you like a teenager or something when you did that, or an adolescent?
Sixth grade. So
I was like,
it was
where
right
is
there in
your
middle
accent?
school.
But
it's still in my sentence. It's still there in my sentence structure, but I did have an accent. Yeah.
Huh.
Now I just sound slightly dumber, kind of.
Well, you didn't have to tell us that.
Oh, come on. I mean, I guess I'm having a different approach to things. I'm not going to be...
Oh, I give P-Town crap. It's fine.
Oh, okay, fair. Oh, this is an existing report.
By the way, what church did you go to, Nitty? Your stuff just sounds nuts, man. Like...
You
it's no
missed
nuttier
the
than
back
any other
catalog.
church
Where you been, man? You gotta resubscribe.
For real.
Content.
Nitty's got a new a channel trailer that tells all about it.
Yeah, man.
They tell you, oh
No,
God
you know
doesn't
what,
want you
though?
to have
Some of the
babies,
stuff- What?
not to adopt because you're giving up. Like what?
Yeah, yeah.
What
It
is
shows a
going
lack of
on?
faith in having natural children. I mean, duh.
Yeah. You know,
It's tantamount to Abraham, sticking it in what's her nuts.
Yeah, if anything,
Yeah, exactly.
Christians
I forgot her
believe
name
that.
because
Yeah.
of the
Chris-
Bible.
If anything, Christians believe that can be fixed by God and that people can still have babies. I've seen it with so many people where they tell them they can't have babies and then they have babies.
yeah.
But I mean, that rhetoric though is, if you think that's particularly fucked up or weird or whatever, I mean, that's evangelical churches everywhere. That's not just non-denominational kind of culty churches. Like that's really shit people say to each
Telling
other.
people not to adopt, that's ludicrous.
Fuck yeah.
Like,
you want to know interesting thing, as someone who grew up in an evangelical church, but in a relatively progressive part of my country, there's a bit of a, interestingly enough, I found that within my church and with some other churches, there's sometimes a bit of a disconnect between, you might say, the official culture or what the church and the leaders are espousing, and then what you're getting between congregants. And what Nitty's talking about kind of reminds me of the things that you wouldn't necessarily hear from the pastors, but you're going to get from other congregants, like your peers. And with the inconsistency there too. Like, for instance, while there is information in the Bible obviously indicating against drunkenness, like, I'm not going to contest that, it's there in fairly black and white. There is definitely not a clear, there's nothing clear in there indicating that you shouldn't drink alcohol at all. I mean, after all, alcohol was consumed in the Bible.
Well, actually, it's prescribed as medicine by the Paul forger in First, Second Timothy.
Main point I'm making though is Bible doesn't while Bible does prohibit drunkenness or letting yourself go, it doesn't prohibit it doesn't blanket prohibit the consumption of alcohol.
Yeah.
Speaking of this, I just want to say, like, I'm at,
I
think I'm at 14 beers in the last 4.5 months. That's insane for me. You guys know that.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. No
Sorry,
worries.
Sabrina.
No. I'd be good to hear about that. Not to minimize it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
Usually that's one night of me hanging out with Nitty. No, I'm just saying.
Oh my! But yeah, Jesus was a big fan of wine. He was wine.
I think I crossed that blurry line you're talking about, Sabrina, where it's. But
yeah,
that was between me and God, right? No.
Yeah. Anyway, to the point that I was going to make. So Bible doesn't prohibit drinking alcohol, prohibits drunkenness. So actually even before I had turned 19, but I started still in the church, but started experimenting with mixology. So like just mixing drinks and everything. I actually made a point of not drinking until I turned 19. By the way, drinking age in Canada is 19 years old, to be clear. Obviously, I know it's different in different countries and different parts of Canada. I think have different rules as well. But where I am, it's 19 years old. Ironically, the age to be allowed to serve alcohol is 18. Anyway, different point. That's why I said I started experimenting with mixology or started drinking it, because I did become a server before I was able to drink the alcohol. I am not kidding. Regardless. So I started experimenting with it, and after I turned 19, I started drinking it. I did not going to pretend I didn't let myself get drunk, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. And so for the most part, it was more like just the trying different like mixed drinks and everything like that, like just enjoying it. Just it was kind of like a small little hobby. Never let myself go too far. And to the context about talking with congregants, I remember bringing this up with one of my friends in the church, older than me, so it was kind of like I would say kind of like an uncle-ish position as far as a rapport is concerned, but still someone I was quite friendly with. And I can't remember his exact words, but he was very surprisingly hard on me for that. And I'm like, I'm not getting drunk at all. I didn't defend myself at the time because like at this stage I was still very much like respecting the opinions of my religious elders and everything like that. But I was like kind of taken aback. I'm just like, basically said like, at the stage you're at, you're going to be going to hell kind of thing. And I'm just like, what? And part of his point was less about the alcohol itself and more the fact that like I'm spending a lot of energy and time exploring a completely secular interest rather than spending my time like trying to exalt God was a big part of the point he was making. But it was still like, and that was always a sticking point for me within the church, because I very much appreciated my hobbies. They kind of helped me function at all. Being neurodivergent, like with ADHD and everything, like if I didn't have video games to occupy my energies, I was just like super depressed kind of thing. Or like I'm grossly oversimplifying my growing experiences as a child, but it was a personal anxiety, like something I felt bad about. Like I'm clearly, others pushed on me and I sort of internalized myself. I'm like, I'm clearly spending so much of my internal energy on just personal interests and hobbies and not spending enough time pondering God. Like really the only time I spend much of my energies pondering God would have been 2 days a week, Sunday when I go to church, and then one other day a week, I think it was usually Friday evenings or Saturdays, when I would go to like the youth groups, which I went regularly for a while anyway. Stopped because I didn't really engage with most of my peers very much. Get a different story. But yeah, I was getting this kind of like different vibes from different congregants. I was never admonished about this by like any of the other leaders, other people I've talked to about, even the pastor I talked to about it, and he thought like, oh, that's kind of interesting. He didn't like drinking, but he thought it was interesting. But like this one friend was just like, nope, that's a problem. I'm like, so I don't know. It was an interesting dynamic. I know I rambled a little too much on that, but
no,
right,
I think
I want to interject here. Methodists, my faith tradition, Methodists, you know, are a dry denomination. It's in the discipline. You're not supposed to drink. It's in the discipline of the Methodist Church. So it's an old Methodist joke, is that wherever 3 or 4 Episcopalians are gathered, there's always a fifth.
Okay, yeah. They used to say that about Irish Catholics too.
Yeah, you know, same basic idea. You know, it's the same basic idea. So, P-Town, you're in Texas, right? Not where you're.
I'm in Washington. He's in Seattle.
Oh, you're in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, when it comes to drink, like my in-laws, like I don't drink at all around them. They're not even supposed to know that I even partake in that. You know, it's just I don't lie to people. Sometimes I joke around and I'll make jokes about it, just so I feel like I'm not lying to them. But you get that stigma and that I don't like. That extreme, but at the same time though, they're the types of people that take in druggies and take care of people and attend, you know, and just do so much for people who are actually struggling with things like that. But yeah, I get judged really hard just for being myself around my in-laws. And I'm like, I spent the amount of time I spend devoted to studying the Bible and ministering in some way, and yet still I am the outcast.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the right way to go. But I mean, what happens with drinking is you can slip into more sin. It's really hard to balance. I mean, you guys,
P-Town.
you all know.
P-Town.
Yeah.
Do you think it's sinful for kids to bully other kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's not a good thing to do. You shouldn't bully people.
So
Sure.
right, so if a kid in high school, say, goes into the bathroom, do you think it would be bad for other people in the bathroom to beat him up and slam their head on the floor, on the ground?
Because who goes into the bathroom?
Another kid.
If a kid goes into a bathroom, should he get beaten up?
Hmm.
I'm not following.
Because
but of course
because they're non-binary.
Yeah.
No, of course not. Of course, that's horrible. Yeah.
Do you think that the state should pass a law that says that kid can't use the bathroom that is appropriate to them?
It's of course not. From my opinion, I mean, it's a freaking bathroom. Like, it's where we poop and pee. It's ridiculous.
Okay, just wanted to clarify this.
We all share bathrooms all the time.
Are you aware of what happened? Are you aware of what happened in Oklahoma?
I just looked it up. I looked at. I was looking up. There was two things. One, I think they made it so they're going to base what your gender is based on if you make sperm or ova ever before. And then the other thing was, I think they're making embryos considered children. I saw those two.
Well, that's Alabama. You're mixing
Alabama.
up. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's all
Somehow
right.
the Google engine picked up Alabama.
If I may, so you got the first bit right. So there was a law recently passed in Oklahoma, or recently. Like I might have the dates wrong. I think it was recent.
No, it wasn't all that recent.
It wasn't all that recent, but it was like within the past year, kind of thing, regarding how, like, basically saying, like, it doesn't matter if you're trans or non-binary. I'm oversimplifying. It doesn't matter if you're trans or non-binary. You're going to the bathroom as corresponding to the sex assigned at birth. The second bit, which is partially related. I'll explain why it's related. But the second bit was there is a young kid, a non-binary teenager. I think they were 16. Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone.
Yes, next was 16.
Next was 16. In an Oklahoma school, who just recently died. And it's very, very strongly, I mean, it's pretty much certain at this point, but like, I'm being political about it, very strongly associated with a likelihood they were beaten up quite badly in the school bathroom recently. And most people are pretty much certain that the reason they passed away is because of that altercation. And now this altercation, and this is where it relates to the previous bit, this altercation is the culmination of some long-term bullying that Nex has been experiencing in school, as a consequence of both their non-binary identity and the fairly toxic environment that has been kind of fomented by Oklahoma passing these laws. Like, they passed these laws as basically rejecting the acknowledgement of trans identities. And so, of course, this individual, regardless of how they preferred, they had to go into the bathrooms they were most comfortable with. They had to go into the bathrooms corresponding to the one they were assigned at birth, not what they were most comfortable with. And while going into one of the bathrooms they were forced to use, they were attacked by a bunch of people who had been bullying them for a while now. So I feel like I've kind of mixed some of my points together. I apologize for the lack of clarity. My understanding is
that's a horrible thing. I mean, anytime beating anybody up or any kind of physical, especially, is completely wrong. There's something that happened at a country club near where I live where they were having a women's golf event, and there was a transgender female. And if I screw up the terms, I don't do it on purpose. But anyway, the kids were in the locker room, and the kids knew that this was, what they perceived to be a man. and they were throwing a fit about, no, you can't be in here, you have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that person felt offended. They won a lawsuit for $5 million, and the golf course got shut down.
Really?
Yeah. So and then you have other instances where, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's, or then you have the people like the ladies who genuinely feel threatened because there's a fully intact what they would deem as being a man, undressing or watching them, so and they feel like that's inappropriate. So there's just but there's just so many feelings and different opinions on this.
Yeah.
Restroom matter. Yeah.
Yeah. The bathroom thing is very much a hot topic for a lot of people, myself included. So if it hasn't already been clear, just to make it super clear, I'm a trans woman. And I'm a trans woman who does not pass as a woman, very obviously. I
Not that obvious.
do not use public restrooms. I very strongly avoid using public restrooms. If I do, I try to find like either one of those family rooms, which will be like a single unit, a single stall kind of thing that I can use. Or every once in a while I find a place that has like a gender neutral bathroom. But if I can't find that, I generally avoid it, because for me, in either circumstance, if I use a men's washroom or use the women's washroom, I'm scared. If I use the women's washroom, I'm scared because...
Where do you live?
I live in Canada. So...
Because if you were over here in Seattle, I bet you'd feel fine. I mean, it's blue and green and, it's
more of
we got Starbucks, like every block.
I'm in a very progressive.
That's not an indication of liberal.
Why do you always have to point out when I extrapolate, Nitty? Like
the Starbucks bit is interesting because most of the Starbucks that I go to have they don't have gendered washrooms. They only have individual stall washrooms. Like the Starbucks.
Is the better way to do things.
Yeah,
and I think that's the way, because I'm sick of waiting in line. Go and use the lady. I'll go use the lady.
Just hang on. Let's get it off the bathroom issue, because it really could have happened. That could have happened anywhere in that school. I was never assaulted when I was a teenager in the bathroom, or in the locker room, except for once. But in the hallways,
yeah, same.
When I literally, this is no lie, in 7th and 8th grade, almost daily, this gang of boys who just hated me would walk up to me and grab me by the tit, squeeze it real hard, and twist.
Oh,
almost daily.
Oh, I know.
And you were transitioned at that, or you were
no.
Okay. Oh, they used to do that to me too, and
is that what correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, is that what they called purple nurple, or maybe it has different terms?
Not when it's done to a girl.
And I have the world's smallest nipples, by the way. Fun fact.
I didn't at the time.
No idiot heard. They are Guinness Book of World Records.
Love this conversation.
I'm just, for me this is really just something.
Yeah.
That I was trans.
Right.
I was trans. I knew I was trans. I didn't have all the words. It was 1966, 67.
Right.
But I was that kid. I have a friend who I'm still friends with. Well, I hadn't heard from him in 50 years. And he wrote me an email and said, I remember when that happened to you, and I feel terrible that I didn't do anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that what is happening now you know, if there weren't, again, back in 1967, we didn't have any discussion whatsoever in the public sphere about trans stuff. As a matter of fact, in 1969, Life magazine ran a like a 7-page spread in their January issue featuring what they called at the time a transsexual women. And it was just like, huh, that's weird, but it's okay. And the article is generally positive. We didn't have this madness. And there weren't calls to make sure that people use the right restrooms, et cetera, and so forth. This nonsense wasn't going on at the time, okay? But there, it is now. It is now. The state of Oklahoma is passing laws that basically say it's okay to do what those girls did to that kid.
I couldn't go that far, but I also, like, if there's any hint of just being
what do you mean you couldn't go that
laws,
far?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Well, based on me just taking a quick look at the law, I thought it was just defining male and female.
It's basically pointing out that anybody who does not performatively conform to the gender they were assigned at their birth may not do certain things, which automatically, since it is a matter of law, automatically excludes them from doing certain things and automatically paints a target on them.
Well, okay, so that's what
and furthermore, the state of Oklahoma Department of Education hired Libs of TikTok lady Chaya Resnick to monitor their libraries.
Yeah. If I
now I just have to say that you know, while I believe that what happened to me was terrible and wasn't all that cool, and we probably would all agree that bullying is terrible, but when bullying is codified in law and stochastic terrorism arises out of that, you have to think that perhaps the society is not going the way of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. And that's
even though it is done in his fucking name.
And think about how ironic that is. How that is completely not what it is to be a Christian. You're absolutely
bullshit.
Right.
P-Town, bullshit.
It's not
bullshit.
What I'm saying
bullshit,
is
bullshit. P-Town, look at your faith. Look at what the leaders of your faith are doing in this country. The leaders of your faith are standing up and saying that transgenderism needs to be eradicated from the public sphere, morally eradicated from the public sphere. The leaders of your faith. And you need to do something about that, P-Town. You do.
And that's where
you do not get to come in and cherry pick your Bible for me. Okay. When you won't tell the people who were taking your scriptures and turning them into laws in state after state after state. Your neighboring state of Idaho is one of them. You don't get to do that when it is led by the Christian faith.
For millennia, 70 people have been using Christianity in really horrendous and bad ways. And I don't think that the real Christians can stop that from happening.
Why the fuck not? If you are your brother's keeper, then you ought to be taking care of your brother's sinfulness.
Yeah,
that's the excuse of Cain. You just painted the mark of Cain all over yourself.
Okay. To give a different point,
I'm not. No. We're not being gentle here. I'm not being gentle here.
Okay, right. This is your channel. Okay, I'll let you do it.
I'm not being gentle here.
And that's okay.
I am not here to have a polite philosophical discussion about the nature of the assault on people's dignity that is being carried out in Jesus' name. And I've got one of Jesus' followers here, and I'm calling upon that follower to do something about it. And absolutely. I'm not here to fucking argue. You're either going to do something about it, P-Town, or you're not. And you're not going to tell me that there's nothing Christians can do, because it's Christians who are doing it.
Well, let me clarify again and just say I don't think the Christians will be able to stop it. Not that they shouldn't do anything.
Why the fuck not? What? Give me an excuse. Tell me how you excuse yourself from not being able to stop it.
It's not excusing ourselves from trying, but what I'm saying is,
well, you'd better fucking start, man.
Because from our perspective, that at least for me and my eschatology is that the world's going to continue in that direction, and there will continue to be people to be false and do things in Jesus' name. And
but people are getting killed in Jesus' name, and is that horrible. Okay?
Absolutely not.
Well, then you've got to do something about it.
Yeah. So I've got 2 points I'd like to add here. One, the amount of people who are ostensibly not in favor of these negative changes, including Christians, outnumber by a decent margin the amount of people who do want to do harm. The reason why the harm is still occurring is because, and this I will say is not just at the feet of of the progressive Christians, but also at the feet of like people like me who don't necessarily do all the work. If the reason the harm is occurring is because we're not doing anything, we are not getting together and saying, "Hey, enough is enough. This cannot continue." That was my first main point. It is absolutely something we could reverse if we worked together and actually did it, because we do outnumber them. The only reason they're winning is because currently they outnumber the people on our side who are actually acting, and not enough of us are acting. We need to act.
That's my point.
You've
got to do something. We all need to do something. If we can agree on this, then I'm calling upon you to do something. You have it's why I went to a Methodist church and talked about this to the people in the pews.
And another
you
thing,
have to do something. If you use scripture to accomplish that, fine. I did. My text was you are the salt of the earth.
Well, if I may,
why hide your light under a bushel? And that's as a matter of metaphor in terms of why you don't expect people to hide who they are.
Well, if I may, first describe my position on the matter, because that in and of itself could be offensive to many and probably some of you on the panel. But it's important that you know what my perspective is, so I can be a better tool to serve what's the right thing to do. I believe that transgenderism, LGBTQ, the increase in numbers are predominantly because of an increase in the lack of believing in a creator God, according to scripture. That there's a judgment. But what I'm saying is, this is what I believe based on my
then show me how that me how that's true. What is the causality?
Sure. So if you study, say you brought up Romans 1, there's a distinct judgment. And as far as I can tell, it's upon a culture of people. So I don't look at it as specifically an individual, But this belief in there not being a creator.
You're gonna quote scripture at me. You're gonna start here. You're gonna sit here in my stream and quote scripture at me and tell me why it is justifiable for a Christian to take the point of view that
I want to get there.
You're gonna do the hate the sin, love hate the sin, love the sinner thing with me, right?
No. Let me bring it home real quick, Stephanie, and I'll skip to the end here. And what I'm saying is, passing laws or forcing people so they can't come out publicly and feel comfortable about what they believe their identity is not going to bring people to Christ. That's absolutely not at all. That's the opposite. I believe that bringing people to Christ will resolve what is going on that we do consider to be sinful natures, just like so many sins in this world. And I know that sounds offensive, but what I'm trying to say is,
I personally take issue with the whole notion that the world is inherently evil, and that's a fundamental tenet of Christianity, which is why I'm not a Christian. But we can you want to have that debate, that's fine. But the point I'm trying to make right now is that if you may not be using Romans to shade things in that way, but a lot of people are, and they're using it to shade things in the way as to say that God's law and civil law ought to be absolutely identical, and they're enacting those laws. And that is directly affecting, you may disagree with that, and I would welcome your mission to those people to say, stop it. That this is not the way to lead people to Christ. The way to lead people to Christ is to let them live their lives and just leave them the fuck alone. Yeah, that would be good. And hope that through the machinations of the Holy Spirit, they will realize their sinful nature and repent and go to heaven. I mean, that would be fine. I think it's a crock of crap, but that's another issue entirely.
Well, let me first point out some of the gray areas, though, too. Okay, I believe that I'm hesitant, though I understand the benefits of having kids transition at an early age. I'm close to against it, but maybe in some rare exceptions not. But again, I'm not a doctor. Kids. I'm not a doctor. They're not my kids, exactly. So I have a heart for it. But at the same time, I'm also on the defense a little bit in terms of protecting the children, and I have a lot of reasons for that. Okay. Besides that, I think that
who are you protecting them from? Who are you protecting them from, ostensibly? P10?
Well, so from my minimal experience, I'm even against giving them pharmaceutical drugs that'll affect with their libido as they're going through vital and kind of intense.
Are you a physician? Are you their physician? No, are you their parent? Is it any of your fucking business?
P-Town, I've got a few things I want to get on this, but first, the main point, what you're talking about right now, I think it's going further ahead than is really important right now. So you did make a very interesting point about how these passing of these restrictive laws is not going to bring people to Christ. And you know what? On that specific point, I fully agree with you. From what I've seen and what I've experienced when I was still in church and I would meet new converts, because I would meet quite a few people, some of them are still good friends, that it was absolutely through positivity and positive contact that they came to Christ and came to in a sense understand the truth. Again, I've left, so obviously I don't agree with that, but the point is there. So my understanding is you agree that those are not effective ways to do this. I think what would be a very helpful ministry to people right now, because right now there's a critical high priority that those of us in the queer community have. We are in a position where we are under fire. We are under significant crisis right now. Like very, very significant crisis.
And this is a feeling that's pretty like prominent throughout.
It's
there.
much more prominent than it's ever been, and it's very, very prominent right now.
There are laws.
And there's
They're
not
passing
much
laws,
else
P-Town.
we're basically trying to ensure our safety and ability to just be comfortable in a basic manner. We are not in a position to really effectively consider like our immortal souls and things like that. I understand that it's no excuse for actually no, I'm not going to go on that side bit. So right
It's okay.
now,
I was just getting it out
is
there.
A very effective ministry is basically saying, you know what? I'm a Christian. You're not a Christian. Like, this is me theoretically, by the way. Excuse the straw man. I'm a Christian. You're not a Christian. You know that I think that you shouldn't be queer or whatever kind of thing. But I also recognize right now that you are in a crisis position. And so right now, your priority is survival. My priority shall also be your survival. That is what we need from the Christian community right now. We need them to shift focus a little bit to help us regain a reasonable degree of safety, and then we can more effectively start talking about our faith. Right now, it is for most people, it's a matter. It is absolutely a matter of life and death. Not just talking about this kid who was ostensibly murdered. There's plenty of young people and adults who are committing suicide because they are in such a crisis position. They feel they've got absolutely no way to even function for the rest of the week, kind of thing, because of the discrimination that they're experiencing right now. Discrimination that is partially a consequence of this very toxic environment that we're having, especially like all around the world. But it's very prevalent here in North America right now. And right now, what we need help from the Christians, because you're in a very uniquely powerful position. Believe it or not, Christians are listened to. Like a lot of political leaders are Christians, though different kinds of Christians. I understand there's a lot of denominational separation. There's a lot of power that Christians have, and in a sense, let me say this. I'm asking you, please help us. We need help.
So this is what
some safety.
This
and
is
then
now.
we'll listen to you. We will listen to you. We may
So
not
we already
eventually
are-
agree, but we will listen.
So I'm already dealing with this
Sorry.
with the girls in the ministry, the young girls, and
Okay.
Coming up and multiple attempted suicides. You know, girlfriends, boyfriends, girlfriends. You know, and cutting. Really came from a rough background. You know, this is real issue stuff that, you know, that generation is dealing with. Medications, all kinds, trying to figure it all out. We just talk about how we love them and care for them, and that we're here, we're all family, and if you want to talk about anything, and of course at the same time, like for me, I got to be careful, right? As a man, probably when they haven't been treated well by, you know, other men in their lives, and I'd be cognizant of that, but at the same time, let them know that not in that way, right? But they, you know, that they're beautiful and that God made them, that there's nothing wrong with them. And this,
if I may interject for just a moment, I want to ask you a quick clarifying question.
Sure. Yeah.
You're mentioning that this ministry involves younger women. Do you?
Well, I've watched them grow up since they were tiny.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just
they're-
wondering to know
yeah.
if in the ministry that you do get your wife involved?
It's my wife, actually. It's my wife who was doing the girls' ministry.
Okay.
I'm there because I'm there. I'm in the church. And, So like playing with the girls, you know, because I'm the guy they chase and they want to play, you know, wolf and pig and blow the house down and swing on the swings. And anyway, so there's kind of like a father figure role kind of going on, but again, it's not tackling, oh, you shouldn't. entertain those thoughts, and or you're not actually, that's not a real thing. That's just like that type of talk is not the approach that we take. I mean, it's just caring for people.
Yeah.
Okay. This is caring for people then, right?
I can't hear it.
We're not hearing this.
The audio is not coming through.
Yeah. Another thing I may add, P-Town. I'm happy to hear that you're trying to like compassionately minister to people in your space. One thing I would also ask of you, I made the appeal that we need your Christians' help as far as like getting the safety required so that we can actually feel okay and then start thinking about other things. I ask that you if you're comfortable to share this with your fellows, because after all, there's a lot of people that I meet, a lot of Christians that I meet who don't realize just how terrified we are, just how in just the degree of crisis that we are currently in right now. And probably a lot of people who would be like, you know what? Yeah, like, you know what? I'm going to stop. I won't worry about you're living a sinful lifestyle right now. I'm just going to worry about making sure you're safe. You can worry about that later. And I'd ask that you encourage your fellow Christians to say like, hey, there's this group that we're trying to minister to, but right now they're in a great deal of danger. Let's help them. Let's help them out of this danger. Let's talk to our representatives and say, hey, we are not okay with you passing laws that discriminate against these other groups.
Yeah, we don't need hugs and cuddles. We just need people to stop chasing us.
Like, you are passing these laws in the name of Christ, but we know that that is not the Christ-like way to do things.
And this is another, and this is where
speak as well.
So like,
and this is where creeps like this, that's trying to show us. So
still no audio.
Still no audio?
Nah.
That's weird.
Is it a? I wonder. Can you get closed caption on that? Maybe we can see the. No, it's probably just auto-generated anyway.
So Sabrina, there is an aspect of
hugs and cuddles are good.
Like my 4-year-old daughter, we're going into the hospital, right? Seattle Children's, and they ask her, she's 4, for her pronouns, and that's where I was like, okay. I mean, I kind of don't like that. I'm kind of in opposite. You follow me, So there's a little gray area. So like, if they pass a law where it's for a medical reason, I'm like, at least now, maybe it won't continue in this direction where it's like, and now it's forced in our schools over here where it's and I get it, but there's some things where I'm not sure if I agree. Yeah, I
really want to interject. So the example you just gave was about 4, and they're asking her for her pronouns. I disagree with that fact, that the idea that that's a bad thing, and the reason being is, so I come from a specific. This is coming from partially a specific background. I work as a pharmacy assistant, and one adage that we have, not just in pharmacy but in just like medical in general, is never assume, always verify. Because that is significantly safer and significantly better for people. While I would say, though not exclusively, I would say for a lot of young people, you can argue that a lot of them wouldn't even really be paying attention to pronouns or the idea of that, or use anything different. But we don't have to assume that. Verify it. It's like, okay, you're asking someone's daughter what her pronouns are, and then she confirms.
But she's decked out in
fine.
She's decked out in pink everywhere, and now what this leads to is because kids can be suggestive. They're very suggestible. Then a day goes by, and she decides, Dad, I'm going to marry a woman when I get older. I'm like, really? You're 4. You decide you're going to marry a woman. This is all. And that you follow me like this. There's some things I'm not sure about.
The problem there is that if suggestibility, if influence, if seeing other things in the world did cause children, like take me for example. I'm pan. So if seeing nothing but hetero people on TV in every movie, if seeing people be a thing caused kids to be the thing, then I would be hetero,
Yeah.
Seeing stuff doesn't change anything about a kid except tell them there's other people like them if they're not hetero,
The other thing I would add is,
can see
in
your
the case of
argument.
let's say a 4-year or 5-year-old girl comes home and says, "I want to marry a woman." Maybe she's at that moment coming out as a lesbian. She's actually realized that she finds herself more interested in women than men, or she could be experimenting, playing. Do you want to know something? That's really normal. Now, some kids don't.
It's more than
but a lot
normal
of
right
kids-
now. Over
a lot-
50% in the middle school are
This
experimenting.
has always been normal in child psychology. This has always been normal where kids...
They claim today that individuals have a right to a child.
There's the audio.
But of course, no one can ever have the right to a child because children are people. And no one has the right to another person because those people have rights themselves. In our national identity crisis, we no longer recognize those rights. We no longer recognize people. Increasingly, we treat people as objects. We treat children as commodities to be bought and sold, designer babies to be purchased on the open market of the surrogacy industry so that adults can live out their fantasies. But those fantasies come at a cost. They come at the cost of creating children intentionally to deprive them of their natural mothers and fathers. It's ghastly. We have the right to give and take innocent human life. Then we have the right to do anything. We are as free as God himself. To get rid of babies that they don't want, the cost is that babies lose the freedom to live. Men gain the freedom to use the women's bathroom. Women lose the freedom to have their own bathrooms. Foreigners gain the freedom to enter our country as they please. Americans lose the freedom to make our own laws. Drug addicts gain the freedom to shoot fentanyl on the streets of the city. Citizens lose the freedom to walk down their sidewalks in safety and peace. The freedom liberals offer is the dubious freedom of the drug addict. It's the freedom to follow our lowest appetites, to deny our reason, and ultimately to destroy ourselves. It's the freedom of Satan in Paradise Lost to make a hell of heaven and a heaven of hell. It's the freedom of abject slavery, and it has made a hell of our country everywhere it's taken hold. The freedom the liberals promise is liberation from all limits, liberation from borders, liberate a people from its family and its laws and its customs is to erase the people. To liberate a man from his body is to kill the man. True freedom is not the license to languish alone, is a national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right. How do we know what's morally right? Because we have brains. Even the liberals, I'm pretty sure, I'm not talking served us a nation. Then conquer we must when our cause it is just, and this be our motto, in God is our trust. Every American with a penny to his name knows that phrase. All of our great statesmen have believed it. Yet today, the liberals want us to believe that America was founded as a secular nation, an atheist nation. They tell us America was founded on a firm separation of church and state. Once again, the problem is not so much ignorance, it's the liberals knowing so much that isn't so. There is no such thing as a total separation of church and state. There never has been, and there never can be, because states make laws, and laws come from morals, and morals come from God.
And that, my friend, is the problem.
Oh, that's just absolutely horrible and despicable and
deplorable.
And it's the majority
in your
view
mouth.
that is getting these laws passed, P-Town, which is why I am saying we need to work together
And it
to
was cheesy.
change this narrative. You won't change it from Michael Knowles, but you might be able to change it in Idaho, in Oklahoma, in Utah, in Alabama, in, the areas where this narrative is taking hold. based on a narrative that is deeply rooted in the gospel. That's why I'm saying, man, I'm not, you know, you can defend your belief, and that'll be fine. And believe me, I'm glad that you seem to, you know, with a few exceptions. I was listening while I was trying to sort through all of that stuff to your experience with your child being asked for their pronouns. That's okay. I guess you're uncomfortable with that. There are perfectly reasonable ways to address that, and I think Sabrina did a good job in doing so.
I was trying to point out how writing laws on both sides,
The issue is no, it's not on both sides. The issue is I am perfectly happy to allow you and others who may not practice your religion. I am perfectly happy to be content with your freedom to practice your faith until it becomes an issue of you're restricting my freedom to practice mine or lack thereof.
Absolutely.
When your freedom to practice your faith involves, when your freedom, not yours specifically, but when freedom generally becomes a matter of someone whose faith requires them to pass a law to prevent me from living my life because my very life is an affront to their God. That's where I got to draw the line, man. And I think that's where you draw the line too. And if you do, I'm asking you to, fight the good fight.
Well, yeah, whatever that dude was doing was just trying to get votes by appealing to, I don't know, popular cliche target points to an audience that likes to beat the drum in a certain direction. And it's really deplorable.
And what's unfortunate.
I mean, that was politics. I mean, that's just.
Well, I mean, ironically, the point he was making.
Who is that guy?
He's
Michael Knowles,
merging
Daily
politics
Wire.
And merging.
That was Daily Wire. That was an awfully written speech. That was
it was a speech that was delivered at the Conservative Political Action Conference that's going on.
Dude,
right
I bet
now. And
Ben Shapiro's probably ripping him right now. That was pathetic.
Does it matter? I mean, the point is the notions he is delivering that you are telling me you disagree. You think he's full of shit, basically, which he is. I mean, but it doesn't matter, P-Town, because he's effective. It's speeches like that, it's beliefs like that are causing these laws to be passed. Again, in Idaho, in Utah, in Oklahoma, in Arkansas, in Alabama, in Texas, in Florida, in 28 states. There are 400 bills now, over 400 bills right now, pending in state legislatures across the nation that would make it impossible for me to live my life.
If I may add something just to give a bit of a different perspective here. Well, not a different perspective, but a different way of looking at this. Right now, there is a huge, huge chunk of American and Canadian Christians who would listen to that and be fully on board. And by extension, it sounds like you disagree with these points or even just find it ridiculous. There's a huge amount of these Christians who have kind of lost the way and who've lost their way, and they're subscribing more strongly to hate than to love. And I'm imploring Christians like you who believe in love first to try to help us bring them back to the side of love. because right now, not only are they lost or are straying from the good Christian path, in doing so, they are causing great, significant, immediate harm to a lot of other people and themselves too. And that's what we're asking for your help with.
And yeah, exactly. And I guess my even if I were to agree with the ontology of the world being a place of suffering. Okay, well, it is. It's joyful. It's sorrowful. It's all of this. Life is bittersweet, and all of this. And you can phrase. I think every human, everybody who's human realizes that that's the case. I mean, we're born, we die. It's like, what time is it now? It's a matter of dealing with mortality and a matter of dealing with death, and that's why we have all of these various systems that seek to address that problem. But even if the world is a place that is fundamentally sorrowful or even fundamentally evil, do we need to make it any more sorrowful or any more evil by doing things that harm people's ability to live?
Well, you touched upon it earlier. Some of these people who are supposedly Christians, but their mentality of issuing in the new kingdom as if they're supposed to play a role in it, or going into the new millennium, or they're supposed to push the Christian agenda through politics or making the laws. And no, this is something I'm very much against. While at the same time, as I've tried to politely explain myself, I do have a view that is polarizing to, that is polarizing between us, but it's, again,
that's a side issue. I'm not even.
Yeah, so as long as we're okay with that,
we can argue all day and all night as to who's correct.
Right.
And this is
we're in agreement. We're in agreement, though, that type of stuff is wrong. Yeah, yes. In the same way, and I brought up the whole, as if they are mandated as my 4-year-old for pronouns, like that was written in, and maybe not a law or some sort of regulation, or that was a policy in place.
Yeah,
or the affirming in the elementary schools where they start teaching gender identity and acceptance, but in different genders at that young of an age, all goes against my belief system on what's right and wrong.
Understood, but realize this. But understood, but realize this: there may be other children in your child's class who are one of those people that people are talking about. And
absolutely,
for that
and I mean, person, daddy and mommy are going to teach her about that. I mean, I'm around people who have that affiliation, as you can see, quite a bit. I mean,
well, that's the thing.
I think making regulations,
you can't count on
forcing people to believe a certain thing and writing it into a law.
Well, you're not forcing.
It's not a matter of
just
forcing
simply
people
stating
to
the
believe.
fact. You agree. You're just simply, the teacher, the organization is just simply addressing the fact that there are people who are different. Mm-hmm. And that is something that you might tell your child. You might be good about educating your child as to the difference in people, and you might be good at educating your child to say that these people you maybe say, well, these people are sinful, but so aren't we all, etc., and so forth, according to your faith.
Well, I told her no, she's going to marry a rich doctor man.
Let me finish. Let me finish. But what is happening in the public sphere is an expression on the part of everyone in the public sphere that there are these differences. I mean, they're doing exactly what you would do, except for saying, and they're evil, and they're sinful. You know, they don't add that little bit. Which if that's a problem for you, that it seems rather curious, because to me, a teacher standing up in front of the class and saying, there are people that don't look like you, and they're people too. Just
it's
like you.
And that's where like 60% or 65% of the girls in the middle school down the road, according to one of the moms we just talked to, have decided that they're gay. And it's like, okay, well, they're doing their thing, and it's part of the it's what's cool right now. And
P-Town, if I may,
you know what I mean? I guess I'm not explaining myself fully, but
no, I mean, I know what you're
trying
talking
to paint a
about
picture from my perspective. Yeah.
P-Town, I know what you're talking about, and the fact that I know exactly what you're talking about is part of my argument against it being an issue, because that was exactly the same kind of thing going on even when I was going through school. Like, so, I mean, I'm not old, but like, again, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I was in early elementary school, that kind of exploration was still happening at pretty much the same rate. The only thing that's changed is kind of like adults' awareness of it. Adults complain about, like, I remember hearing people saying pretty much the same thing you just said back then. Like, some parents are like, "Oh, all these kids." It's a very normal, and I mean normal, it's a very normal and common thing for kids to explore a little bit. They'll call themselves one thing, see how they feel about it, and then they'll realize that's not really how they feel. A lot of them will go through the experimental phase and then leave then stop experimenting with it. Tons of people have done that, especially girls.
As polite as I can say this, the truth is I believe that that's wrong, right? And so that's the distinction.
What are we disagreeing on exactly here?
Because I don't believe that I don't believe that teenage, like 6th and 7th grade girls should be experimenting with each other. I think that that's sin.
Okay,
wrong,
let me
right?
back up a little bit.
Should they be experimenting with boys?
They shouldn't be doing it with boys either. But it emphasizes it too. It's the same way. I mean, I went to college. I wasn't religious. I know what There's a lot of things that I believe are wrong that
I think I was
people do.
In my explanation. I really apologize. I think I messed up here. When I say experimenting, I am not talking. I mean, in some cases, apparently people are, but I'm not talking about physical experimenting. I am literally just talking about labels.
Okay.
Them calling themselves gay. That, just calling themselves that. Not necessarily doing any actions, just calling themselves that, thinking of themselves in that way. Thinking of themselves like, oh, maybe I'm gay. Just considering it. That's the basically thought experiments. But they verbalize it as well. That is normal.
Sorry.
That happens a lot.
I never had that.
Perfectly, but not everyone.
Everyone told me
not
I did,
everyone.
but I was like,
and the other thing is, with the way our culture has been, it's a little less it has been culturally a little less permitted for men to at least vocalize this experimentation. Because people were much harsher against like boys who seemed gay. I mean, when I was growing up, the whole saying, "Oh, you're gay," or "That's so gay" is an insult kind of thing. So it was a lot harder for boys to be able to even vocalize with that experimentation. And okay, no, I can't draw any conclusions from that. I was going to draw a conclusion that wasn't fair, so never mind. But nonetheless, thinking about it, considering these things, just considering it and saying, like, am I this? Is this something I feel like? A lot, but not all. A lot of kids will consider these things and then a decent portion of them will go back to whatever their, I mean, I hate saying default, but a lot of them will, after considering it and maybe wearing the label for a week or two, will be like, nah, I'm not really gay. I don't feel this way. I thought about it, but I'm like, nah, I don't like other girls that way. I've had a lot of peers who went through phases like that when I was younger. I didn't get it because I just didn't care about
it goes the other way too. Like kids who are very, very gay who experiment with heterosexuality just to be sure, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I realize that that 60%, come on now. That's just not. That's just ridiculous.
And I agree. It can be innocent, Sabrina, but then we all have been there, and we know what people in general, you know, get into, and all that. And so, from a Christian perspective, it's intimidating that this is pushed from a government level that this is okay. And when it's clear from our beliefs, it's not.
You've correlated two separate things, though.
I was extending it further down the road. Yeah,
well, the thing is, what the government is permitting is the
government is acknowledging what the child psychologists say is normal. They're not enforcing
Anders
it.
said it so much better than me. Yes.
I do need to probably study more up on like what they're actually doing in the public schools and the stuff that you hear,
would be it would be helpful because from what I've learned from not saying about you because I don't know, but from what I've learned from some people who have taken issues like I don't like that this bullying is happening, but I'm still worried about X kind of thing, similar to some of the things that you have said. And then these people have like done the research and realized, what I thought was happening isn't actually happening or isn't happening in the way that I thought it was happening, kind of thing.
Now, there's one last thing, and it's coming along here. It's getting along here. But one other thing is people's gender identity, people's sexuality, people's stuff is their stuff. And it's fairly well established. And it's not going to change. Conversion therapy doesn't work. If you're gay, you're likely to stay gay. It just doesn't change, and there will always be some people who are gay or a lesbian or trans or something that doesn't fit the straight cis het mold. And so regardless, as much as you would like to think that it's sinful and this and that and the other thing, regardless, it's not going to matter. What you think isn't going to matter to a hill of beans in this crazy world, to quote Casablanca. It's not going to matter, D-Town. And then you can pass all the laws and all the laws you want, even if you're not in favor of that. Even if your whole thing is like, I think this is a private matter. Well, it is, but it's not just a private matter for you. It's a private matter for the individuals concerned.
Well, so, I want to clarify, educating as a parent.
You really need to back off on saying that, when the public sphere says, we recognize that this is a fact. Do you agree with that fact? Do you agree that there are, in fact, gay people and they're going to be gay no matter what?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
How do you square that with the fact that there have been for ages and ages and ages, and maybe we're at the end of this conversation.
I don't say that without a heavy heart, to be honest, because it was a
Oh,
very important.
Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? You don't say that without a heavy heart. Yo, thank you for being so fucking patronizing.
Well, what I meant was, considering what I used to believe, that heart still is carried with me. It's a very, I mean, it's a long discussion and it's a detailed discussion, Stephanie. But again, I want to emphasize that no way do I impede.
Would you consider? Would your suppose your child? Suppose your child was told you, "Daddy, I think I'm trans." Would you say that would you think that electroconvulsive shock therapy would be appropriate to convince your child otherwise?
Of course not. The only time that's appropriate is
guess what?
Severe.
That was de rigueur when I was a child.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, it kind of is. So short of that, your therapy would be maybe pray the gay away or something along those lines, or pray the stuff out.
I don't think so.
Okay, then what would do? You would simply insist you're wrong. You can't be.
Well,
right?
I would, and again, I'm not an expert on it because I'm not gay, but I believe that we all have certain inclinations towards certain aspects of sin, okay, and in all different elements around of our lives. We're all different people. Some people, for some reason, have an inclination towards that area, and this can get really compounded and manifested by possibly a culture denying the obvious that there is a creator God, and there's a correlation with this, that it's a product of another bigger
What about a
issue.
culture that says that? What about a culture that acknowledges a creator God and also propounds the notion that God don't make no junk?
I don't know the joke. I'm not following.
It's not a joke. It's serious.
I don't know what don't
God
make no junk.
don't make no junk.
Will someone help me? I don't know what that means.
Do you want me to sing "Just as I Am" for you?
Yes.
Just as I am, without one plea, the Lamb of God was shed for me.
Well, so let me just turn this to me for a minute. When I mentioned about how I'm down to like 14 beers or whatever for the last 4.5 months, I didn't make it wasn't me trying to quit drinking. These things happen to me over time. It's God doing the work. So what I'm trying to say is I can't explain it, but I can't put God in a box to the things that He can't do. It's not me, right? So in this way, when it comes to all things.
So the fact that I haven't had a drink in a month has something to do with God, then, right?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Are you thinking?
I don't think so. No, I just said, I got to take a break for a while.
Yeah. I just want to say a couple things. First, Samami, how are you doing? Hello. Secondly, I hate doing this just as you jump in, but I do have to go. I have work in the morning, and I should have been asleep a few hours ago, but I really enjoyed talking with everyone here.
It's great having you, Sabrina.
Nice meeting you,
Thanks
Sabrina.
for coming by.
Nice meeting you too. And I don't mean that sarcastic. I know some people might say it sarcastically. I don't believe this. You are a very interesting person. I liked talking with you, P-Town. I hope to talk to you again. Anyway, I gotta go work in the morning. And so, Mommy, sorry for running away as soon as you showed up. But I will see you next time.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello
Bye, Sabrina.
And goodbye. Bye-bye.
Pete-Town, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you say that basically you're saying that more people coming out as gay or trans has to do with people moving away from God. But what would you say about countries like India, where people are Hindu and they absolutely believe in a God? They believe in Shiva as the highest God, but Yeah, trans people and gay people have been a part of their culture for thousands of years, and it's totally normal, and it's not seen as sinful or weird or anything at all.
I'm not an expert on India and their religions and their percentages when it comes to trans, and I don't know, Sumami. But where I'm getting my my belief in it is that's what the Bible says. I know that's circular reasoning, and you guys aren't going to appreciate that. But the other part of it too is just looking at the statistics since they've pushed it, got out of the Bible out of schools, and we're really pushing the science classrooms, and that we're just random chance stardust, and that we've evolved for millions of years, and then since that's been indoctrinated, there's been a steady increase. But also throughout time too, you could look at cultures over the last 2,000-3,000 years where the same thing has happened when they've turned away from God. The same things have happened. So this is my evidence for it.
That didn't really answer my question. No,
not at
Sorry.
all. You completely.
All right. Well, I'm tired and I messed up. So okay. Can you repeat it so I can answer it?
Hindu people in India, a lot of they're predominantly Hindu. There's a lot of Hindus in India.
Mm-hmm.
Trans and gay people have been a part of Hindu culture for thousands of years, and it's not seen as weird. And these people are very fervent believers in God.
Well, again, I'd have to look at the numbers myself in order to affirm what you're saying. But also, either way, I'm not about denouncing people as being people, whether it's in the United States or India. That's not what I'm about. Where, you know what I mean? We should still be
Hindu
accepting.
belief is that that's how God made them. That's there's nothing wrong with that. How could that be wrong? How could that be weird or wrong or any sinful? That doesn't make sense.
Well,
obviously that's not what I believe, but I'm saying, that's in Hindu belief. That's just how they are. That's how God made them. So that's, if anything, it would be kind of sacrilegious to suggest that it is sinful or weird.
Yeah, I don't like adding the weird thing because it is a common thing across the world, and it is a thing.
P-Town.
I don't know what to. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
P-Town.
Yeah.
You see what's on the screen?
See if I can read it. History. Oh, I think I'm following your point now that once they start recognizing it increases. Yeah, I understand your argument. And that's something to consider as well. Absolutely.
Would you state my argument that I haven't stated yet?
Well, sure, I can try, and you can correct me here. You're presenting a graph where it shows where there's the percentage of left-handedness, and you can see that it steadily increased during a certain period of time, which obviously that hasn't changed. And what's actually changed is the recognition of it. Was that going to be your point?
The recognition that some people are naturally left-handed.
Yes, right? And as you were going to extrapolate that to the LGBTQ and trans issue.
Exactly. So, there weren't more left-handed people in 1960. They just stopped being punished for being left-handed.
Yeah, and I think
this goes from the late 1800s to the present, and as people were stopped being punished. When I was a kid, people were still punished for using their left hand to write, and so they were forced into being either right-handed or became ambidextrous. Mary, who is Amish, was one of those people. That you were punished for being left-handed, and it was viewed as particularly sinful to be left-handed. And when people stop being punished for being left-handed and were able to just grow naturally and use their use the facilities that, I'm going to say it so you get it, the facilities that God gave them, there was a natural increase in left-handedness, the prevalence of left-handedness, up to 12%.
And what was
It's maintained that steady level for the longest period of time. And the same thing will happen.
And I think what you're making is a good point.
Mary's in her 30s, but she was also raised Amish. So
I think what you're trying to extrapolate from that and compare it to it would be a good argument. I just don't think it's right. In this case, I don't think it's the
for
same.
fuck's sake, you just don't think it's right.
And here's why.
Like,
and here's why, though. I mean,
is this going to be your argument for absolutely everything? It's like evolution. Well, I just don't think it's right.
Well, if you let me, I'll try and say it politely, but I'll try and explain here. Let's say, I was with women who liked the idea of also being with another woman and this whole fetish thing, and you go out and there's parties and it's sex everywhere, and it's these things are convoluted. From a Christian perspective, this is sin. This is sin. You go down to downtown Seattle and you go to the gay bars, and a couple of them just got shut down. They're opened up for.
In Seattle? What are you?
No, they were just on the news. I'm clarifying. What I'm saying is, they were shut down because of the lewdness, because of how it's against the law what they were doing in there. But then they appealed that they were discriminating. My point is that there's sin
in an adults nightclub.
There's sin.
That have to, what?
From the Christian perspective, these things are wrong. When you're doing these things that are outside of what God ordained to be between one man and one woman and raising a family and having a long, fulfilling relationship, these things go against that.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't that
the other side, like Tsunami wants to argue the other side and doesn't believe that it's wrong, and I do, and this is ultimately the foundation of the issue at hand.
Again, no, it's not the foundation. You've completed everything. Everything is going completely over your head. What you are advocating for is a society that imposes a religious belief that not everyone in that society shares upon everyone, and you're arguing that they have a right to do that based on the fact that they are the majority in the society. And
not at all what I said.
Rule, if the vast P-Town.
No, it's the opposite of
what do you suggest? You suggest that the bathhouses in Seattle need to be, or the adult
the gay
clubs
bars
in
that are getting in trouble. But what I wasn't saying that we should force these other people to conform to being Christians. I was just pointing out the discrepancy between what I believe is okay and what the other side believe is okay. That it's more, from our perspective, it's more than just people are gay, that it's sin.
Is it? Yeah, fine. But you don't have the right to make what you consider to be a sin illegal.
Correct. I didn't bring any of that up.
You have the perfect right to think, to have as fucked up a view of the world as you like, but you don't have the right to fucking impose it on others. And earlier you seemed to agree with that, and now you're just simply preaching.
Well, I didn't mean to do any preaching, but I'm trying to figure out what you're accusing me of.
I'm accusing you right now of preaching, because if we agree that you don't have the right to do that, and then you might agree to say, hey, look, fellow Christians, yes, we all know these people are wicked and sinful and awful, but we can't go and impose that upon the whole rest of the world.
No more than the Muslims can come up here and close all the Burger Kings because bacon is sinful.
I mean,
yeah, we're in agreement.
I still have a problem with
the problem is that people don't believe in God. That's the main problem.
Well,
and this is what happens to a society and as continually throughout millennia.
That's entirely beside the point, though.
It's measurable.
Because it's the people who believe in God that are causing these problems. It's people saying, yay, God, who are causing these problems.
Yeah, passing the laws that's holding people back, transgender community in this case, which we're in both in agreement that's not okay. Right, so I mean, we agree, but we have different agreements of so
great. Then,
so I'll be on your side of the picket fence.
Please tell your fellow Christians to get off this tip where they're trying to regulate everybody else's behavior. You perfectly, you can, if you tell me that you want to come on my channel and proselytize, I'm going to tell you to don't bother.
Well, I mean, that's not what I'm here for. I mean, Stephanie, let's just be frank, But I try to do it politely.
Yeah, I realize that, but if you want to have, there are plenty of people that would like to debate you about the existence of God, your ontology, your epistemology, etc., and so forth. I ain't that girl. Okay, you can find some other place to do that. There are tons of people who are willing to sit down for hours and hours and hours and discuss that. My agenda here is to stop the stochastic terror that God botherers are imposing on every fucking state in this country, on people like myself or gay people, or for that matter, people of color. It's not good. And if we can agree on that, then I would ask you to go forth and do likewise. Stop them from doing this shit, because it's literally getting people killed. And with that, I think perhaps that's the end of the discussion, because I really do not want to get into a debate on Christian values and morals. I kind of have... that's not my gig.
Yeah, I only brought it up to explain the position on the applicable content that we're discussing, and I didn't mean to do it for any other reason. But anyway, thanks for having me, and having someone with a different view, and like I said, it's most Christians that I know, not all of them, because a lot of them are kind of knucklehead bigots, until you actually get close to them. They're people and imperfect, but for the most part, Christians are pretty loving and caring, will befriend and support and know that we're all imperfect.
Well, I got a whole family of them, P-Town. It's not that I'm not. It's not that I'm unaware.
You know what I'm talking about.
That my pastor nephew is a Christian, so it's like I'm. But he tells his congregation to love me, so that, and he doesn't tell his congregation that I'm an irretrievable sinner. So in that case, I guess I'm doing okay. I mean, I'd love to get you to drop that whole notion about the evilness of the world, but again, that's not my gig here. I don't want to. That's not what I do. I'm still
trying to figure out that aspect of Christianity. I don't like it either. I kind of want to just become a preterist, or like we're already in the millennium, or have a different view of Scripture. But I just don't do that when I approach Scripture.
Right.
But yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Good conversation. Right. And
you too, Sumami. I don't hate you, even though you're always mean to me. I do care about you too. And
no, you don't, my dude. Stop.
I do. Yeah. Actually, yeah. I do care. I really do. But anyway, I'll say good night. You too, Ember.
Good night.
Yeah, good night, P-Town.
Take care.
I hope your children grow up to fight the patriarchy, P-Town.
There you go.
Me too. All right. Night.
Give
That
them
was a
hell,
thing.
little P-Towns. Give them hell.
Yes,
the
make his life
townlings.
miserable. Anyway, I don't think we need the history of left-handedness anymore. And,
No, it is a useful comparison. And similarly, I know a lot of people really don't like long conversations with P-Town, but the thing of it is that he's got a lot of baggage, but he's the big plus with P-Town is that he's willing to talk and engage, and so even if you don't necessarily convince him of something, it gives you the opportunity to get ideas out in a way that's not just preaching, for lack of a better term, so that people who watch a video later can pick up those ideas that get flung around like a blender without the lid on, but still it's a different way to present the information that isn't just one person talking into a microphone.
No, I get it, which is what. But I wanted to keep the focus on the what I view as the overarching issue of this time, which is if he had gone into the full-on preaching mode and morally mandating out of existence stuff in a free society a la Michael Knowles, then he'd have been gone in a heartbeat, because I ain't got the time for that, because I'm not going to convince Michael Knowles of anything. I'm not going to convince the head of the Oklahoma School Board of anything. Those people need to be screamed at and told, like the fella did after the incident. If you didn't see that short 7-minute stream I did last night, there's a clip of this guy just giving the Oklahoma School Board holy hell, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's not my gig. I'm not here to talk about epistemology. I'm not here to talk about ontology. I'm not here to dispute any of those things, really, because it just seems to me that in the moment, right now, we have a situation where the people, the most cruel and domineering Seven Mountainers, who believe that we should have a theocracy and remove democracy entirely and create Gilead, which is happening step by step by step by step. Sam Alito, bring it to me. Bring me another case so I can get rid of Obergefell, so I can get rid of this, so I can get rid of that. That's the critical moment that we're facing right now. And to me, I want to keep the focus on that, because I think it's very urgent that those people, that's why I spent so much time with P-Town. Those people that don't believe that that's the proper way to engage in governance need to tell the other Christians to cut the shit, because I can't. I'm damned.
Yeah, that kind of crap, it works counter to the ostensible Christian message of trying to show everyone God's love and this and that. Like, if you're showing everyone hate, if you're saying God commands us to eradicate this group of people, that we have a final solution for the problem of X group of people, you're driving people away from your church.
Indeed, and it's the kind of problem that a certain Central European country in the second third of the 20th century fell into almost in the blink of an eye. The fellow was inaugurated and became chancellor in February, and by May they were burning books.
Mm.
And as a German poet wrote 100 years before that, where they burn books, they will wind up burning people. That's what happened.
And it's worth pointing out that those famous photos of the first Berlin book burning were of the Gender Research Center. They came for trans people first.
Right. So, anyway, it's been fun having
on that
you guys
happy
here.
note.
It's been fun having you guys here. And thanks for coming in. Thanks everybody who's stuck with it in the chat and put up with the nonsense, such as it is.
P-Town is hard to endure.
Yeah. And I knew it was risky doing that, but I think I'm on this tip right now that it's so important that we do something. This stuff has just got to stop, and we need to be all of the work needs to continue. It needs to be reinvigorated because we can't afford to lose this. We're on the verge of losing it all, and it won't just be the people that you look askance at. It'll be you in the end. So, but thanks so much. Titan, good to see you. Who else is Lena, of course, and everybody in chat. And I know, Ember, what you got coming up? You're a busy little lady this fine weekend, aren't you?
Yeah. I've got the regular standard video comes out. Maybe I put it at 1 p.m. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid interfering with Breeze Live from the Hive while I'm off with the kids. But debate review on my channel at 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern, something like that. And then Sunday, I'm going to be on Matters Now, and then Producer Wes's channel, and then my normal time slot on my channel, Helen from RFR, is going to come over, and yeah, we're going to do an interview show again. We haven't done one of those yet this year, so that should be really cool. And then, of course, there's Bad Science Sunday, but I just forward to that because, it's fantastic.
There's always that. There's always bad science to be had everywhere.
It's true.
At any time. And we saw some of it tonight, actually. A little bit of bad science came up tonight.
Yeah, we do what we can. Whatever. But yeah, the I don't know. The next story. It's really, really, really important, and I have a lot to say about it. But on the flip side, it's really, really hard because Nex reminds me so much of my oldest. It just
I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm pausing on that until
it's interesting that the people, I had one person in a stream I did mostly about caring for trans kids. The reason I'm passionate about this, of course, is because I was one once. Their comment was, stay away from the kids, don't hurt the kids. And it's like, yeah, well, that's the point. That is my point. Don't hurt the kids, don't hurt them.
Yeah, there's
our let them be children, let them work through whatever they're working through. They'll be fine. The kids are fine,
as long as people don't murder them. Yes.
As long as people aren't cruel and try to force them into being someone they're just can't be.
Yeah, there's over 1 million of us, almost 2 million now. And where do people think we all came from? We were trans kids at one point.
So, anyway, as for me, let's see, what have I got coming up? I'm gonna keep doing stuff. I'll probably do another creation story. I read the Ainundalie from the Silmarillion, just because I'm just sort of into reading creation stories on stream, because there are a lot of them, and I'll get around to Uranus and Gaia pretty soon, because just to keep Titan Uranus on the up and up. But yeah, so I'll do that. I'll be doing some of that. I'm gonna start doing some sailmaking streams during the day, I think, and I'm gonna be on tomorrow. Another cheery topic again, fighting the fight with Maya, actually, tomorrow on Women Atheists Unload at what is that, 4 o'clock Eastern, I think it is, 3 o'clock Central Time. Tomorrow, Women Atheists Unload on Skeptic Haven will be talking about Moms for Liberty, and with Cynthia McDonald and Alma and Maya and me. So should be a thing. We'll try to keep up the pressure and bend that bow. So, Mommy, thank you so much for coming in. Tell us what you're up to, if anything, or what you'd like to be up to.
I'm never up to anything. I don't upload anything yet. I'm up to hurting my cats.
That's awesome. That's cool. If you ever want to spend a little bit of time talking about Indian culture, the subcontinent and all of that, feel free to hit me up. I'd love to, explore that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's the presumption of, it's the unbelievable presumption of people in the West generally, is that it's a Christian nation, or it's a Christian world, or it's this and that. It's like, just because it's Western European doesn't necessarily mean it's, let alone Western European. Whatever happened to the Orthodox? There's a whole nother world there. All sorts of different flavors. So, and lots of different cultures. So, on that note, hey, if anybody can like, subscribe, I know I bark a lot, but I try not to be too
hit the Ko-Fi.
Yeah, and help me out. I've got like 5 days till the old Social Security bird flies, and I've been struggling of late. So if anybody can drop a coin in the cup, I very much appreciate it. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. And Ember, you want to do your closing for this stream, because I think it was quoted earlier.
Yes. Oh, let's see. You don't have to pretend that other kinds of people who believe differently than you need to be exterminated because you are better.
You are better than religion. Good night, everybody.
Night.